All right. Good afternoon, people. This is Jamil Ringo. Doing a special edition of We Need to Talk. Normally, I do it on Tuesday nights with a couple of friends of mine, just to kind of bounce things off of each other to gauge the temperature of the community and how just to see how people are doing. But today, something I was sitting down on Friday thinking about something, and it's more or less how the women are doing, because we spend so much time talking about the men that I said I wanted to do something for the women. So, with that being said, I reached out to a longtime Periscope friend of mine, and I asked her if she would join me in doing this to speak for the women, and she agreed to. So, this is why we're doing this special edition today. So, joining me today, I have Nyla Carter, uh, an author of two books, Seven Steps to Peace and You Have What It Takes. She's also a relationship coach for divorcees and the CEO of Impulsive Expressions. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Is there anything else you want to add to this, um, my brief bio that I have of you?
I would just add that my content is focused around empowering women. So I think that it's pretty good that you invited me in here to just talk about the things that we're struggling with as we deal with the current climate of things. So again, I appreciate you for having me
I appreciate you for accepting the invite.
on.
All right, so first off, I'll start off with saying the main thing that got me thinking about how the women are doing today was when I read the story of the 18-year-old girl in Wisconsin that was sitting in the car at the stoplight, and some gentlemen ran up to her car. They were calling her the N-word and sprayed some flammable liquid in the car, and it burned her face and caused her to get third-degree burns. When you read that story or heard that story, what kind of emotion did that bring out of you?
I mean, I think when we hear any story, it's scary, like slavery and segregation is supposed to be over and we're supposed to be free, but we constantly hear of instances like this. And I don't think it's mainly like it's just centered around, like, I feel that pain when it comes to women. Like, I feel that pain when it just comes to Black people in general, or people of color in general. But even the story with Breonna Taylor, it's like, wow, so we can't even be in our homes and feel safe, you know. The fact that we are a threat, or we pose a threat to people because of our skin color, it's painful. Having a daughter, having a son, knowing at some point I can't shelter them and cover them from everything that the world, um, it's scary. And just as, like I said, just as a mother and a sister to other women, it's frightening that we have to continuously deal with this.
And I think part of, at least for me, I think the part that bothers me so much is that just like you come from a West Indian family also. But the thing that I think drives me crazy or bothers me so much is that we're hearing all of this going on. I'm not advocating for any type of violence, but just thinking about how all of this is happening to Black and Latino women,
Mm-hmm.
and there's for some reason never seems to be a man around. And it's not saying that, so much that you all need us there all the time, but I couldn't imagine somebody coming into, my neighborhood growing up, and somebody doing something to one of the women or girls on my block, and nothing happening to that person trying to harm the female on my block.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that same way, or do you get that same type of feeling like, where are the men that, to protect these young women, or protect the women, period?
So, okay, so I feel like this question is loaded. There's so many avenues that I want to take. Let me address one first.
Okay.
As a single mom, I feel as if Black men, men of color, however you want to look at it, however you want to view it, I feel like they need to step up more. Two, many times we're in situations where we have to raise children on our own. Y'all can lay down and make them, but when it's time to stand up and take care of them, provide for them, be there for them, because parenting isn't just about financially providing, it's about being there. And so at the end of the day, we have single moms like myself raising Black boys. I'm going to do the best that I can as a mom, but I don't know what it's like to be a man, and I definitely don't know what it's like to be a Black man in America. And so we're doing the best that we can. I'm fortunate. I went to college, I got my degree, and I'm fortunate enough to be in a situation where I can say I didn't have to work 3 and 4 jobs to make sure that I can make ends meet. A lot of these kids are latchkey kids, so they're taking care of themselves and their siblings, and it's hard. It's hard for me. And I know so many women that are struggling to just, break even. Mm-hmm. And so to answer your question, Black men need to stand up and just be there for their children. And again, some men may argue like, well, I pay child support. Child support is not raising your kid.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there aren't women that make it difficult. There are. Mm-hmm. However, listen, God forbid, my ex-husband had custody of my kids. There would be no day that I would go without talking to them, checking up on them, making sure that they're okay, financially providing for them, being there, being a support system for them. There's no way. And it's like sometimes I feel as if Black men just take the easy way out. They scapegoat, well, the mother, baby mama crazy. Granted, again, there are situations where some of these females, you're like, why? But you're supposed to be there for your kids. They didn't ask to be here. You laid down and made them with this crazy chick. That's another topic to, we're not going to go into that role, but it's just like at the end of the day, these are your responsibilities. You're supposed to take care of them. And we are left to figure it out. Mm-hmm. We're left to try to, my son is, he's turning 14. When he was turning 12, turning 13, there were so many things about boys and boy parts and stuff that I'm just like, Siri, I don't know. And I'm going to my male friends and I'm really particular about who I have my kids around and who they're exposed to. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of my male friends, like I'm like, hey, I want you to talk to him about it, but I don't want you to go and approach him about it. So you have to figure out a way to have this conversation with him without making it known that I talked to you about whatever it is that I want you to talk to him about. It's hard. It's hard trying to figure it out. It's hard trying to make sure that they have positive role models in their lives. And I think that all of this stems from a lack of that. Because if you're a latchkey kid, you're a child at the end of the day. Yes, you might be raising or helping to raise your siblings, but at the end of the day, you're still a child. And you don't know what you're doing. You are figuring it out, or especially because my son is the first. And a lot of times we depend on our boys or first offspring to be the man of the house. Mm-hmm. They're not. That's so much pressure that we're putting on them. And I feel like the cycle just doesn't end at all. And so I feel like sometimes we're setting up our Black boys, our Black men for failure because of situations where, and we can go back to slavery and talk about, the broken homes and all of that. But at the end of the day, I feel like to me, that's the root of the issue. And we need to get to that and start fixing that and repairing that. Again, you don't have to be with your baby mom, kid's mom, whatever you want to call her, but you have to be there for your child.
Okay, so in your estimation, you think that some of the, because when I heard about the girl in Wisconsin, my first thought was, okay, now, enough is enough. It's time for, and I posted that a couple times on Instagram and Facebook. It was like, okay, enough is enough. Now it's time for the men to stand up and defend our women. So is it your position that a lot of these men don't know how to do that?
Yeah. Some don't know how. Some fall into a place where not my business, not my concern. And we need to step up because there's instances, again, I don't look at it just as from a female's perspective or a male's. I look at it in general because I have a boy and I have a little girl. And these people are these are somebody's kids. Mm-hmm. These are somebody's babies. And so I feel as if I have Black men that will stand by me, that will stand up for me, but I feel as if more needs to be done. And again, it's something that we have to break, you know, early on, because like for instance, my son, if there was an old woman or an elderly woman and she's struggling with her bags, I don't have to say go help her. It's
Yeah.
nature, it's instinctual. And I feel like it's not always the case. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you don't have that, and again, a lot of the times these Black mothers are working 3 and 4 jobs. They don't have the time. It's not that they don't love their kids. They're spent mentally, emotionally, physically. So it's only so much that they can do. So again, they're leaning on that Black son, their first offspring, to be the man of the house and to step up in all of this stuff. And they don't know. And so I feel like we need to, once you have gotten yourself out the hood, or you've gotten better, or you've become in a place where you can help somebody else, go back and invest into the community.
Yeah.
Do some kind of outreach, be that father figure for those that may not have that opportunity to have it. It's about pouring back into where is lacking.
Okay. I think it's a lot of, and I'm the first to say, and I know a lot of people may, get upset with this, but I always tell people, I said, I grew up without my father. Mm-hmm. I said, but in my mind, I always feel like it's my job to protect, my wife, my mother, my mm-hmm. nieces, my cousins, or whoever the case may be. And I just don't understand, when some guys say, oh, well, I didn't learn that, or I didn't learn this. Like you said, I think that that's an instinctual thing. And it's not, I can say this, the women in my life are very strong. So mm-hmm. I know if I needed, at times they may not want my help or my protection, but as a man, I feel that it's my duty and it's my job to step up and help the women, especially, like I said, like we said, especially with what's going on now. It's getting crazier and crazier. For example, like the cop in Miami that tased a pregnant woman, and then once she fell to the ground, he tased her in her stomach on purpose. Wow. And she was pregnant. And it's just like, okay, I get it where some people record it, for maybe to turn it in, and some people just record it just so that they can be the first to post it. Mm-hmm. But at some point, it's just like, okay, somebody has to step in and help this woman. She's pregnant. It's not, I don't know the entire story, but tasing her in her stomach, I'm sure that's not something that he was trained to do. And that's also why I wanted to have this discussion with a female, because I was thinking about it, and I said I could have it with my usual group on Tuesdays, but I said it's a bunch of guys talking about, women or women's issues, so why not do it with a woman? So in your estimation, what do you think guys need to do more of? Not so much of what they didn't learn growing up, but what do you think we need to do more as men to help keep women safe?
It's kind of like the saying, if you see something, say something. Mm-hmm. Instances like that, you have to react, again, in a way that it's going to be safe for you, safe for the woman that's involved. But I don't know. And I'm in San Diego, so it's not a lot of us out here. And a lot of them don't know that they're Black, but whatever. That's just another story for another day. But when I see a Black person, it's like this level of camaraderie. It's like, what's up, bro? It's like happiness. And so I just feel like when it comes down to situations like that, we can't just pull out our phones to record it. Again, I feel like people it's second nature to record it, but it's not second nature to step in and say, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? Do you need help? And just put yourself at risk to make sure that she's protected.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. Again, to use the example that I just gave you with my son, a lot of a lot is instinctually built into him. So he knows, like, there are certain things, I'm going to hold the door, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because that's built into me. But you shouldn't have to know someone to empathize with them, to understand, like, hey, maybe just me standing here saying, hey, is everything okay? Do you need help? Maybe, the officer seeing a lot of people gathering around her may help. I don't know. I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer.
Okay.
I just feel like we need to step up and stop being so playing it so safe, because I feel like men don't want to step up and get involved because that's not my concern. I don't really know her. I think men should take a stance of, this could be my sister, this could be my mother, let me help.
And I think that's the thing. I think I don't want to blame the whole generation, but I think just society today is like, okay, I don't want to get involved for whatever reason. And like you said, sometimes I think a lot of people think that if I step in, I have to, they think it's always physical, but like you said, it could just simply be, let me step in and, hey, is everything okay over here? If the cop, curses you out or whatever the case is, you stand, I feel it was advantageous for the person, that male, that female, whoever the other person is, to stand there just to make sure things don't go wrong. But